Another glorious day in Portugal. It's just gone 10, sun's out, probably about 20 degrees, or feels like it already. And in the background is the ornamental well. This project's about filling that in and changing it into a table. So this is the well. I must admit, when we were buying a house, we actually thought it was real and only discovered that it's completely fake. So I think the history of this sort of thing is you put ornamental well in the garden and it made you look like you had more money than you probably do. Because if this was a true well, it would have to reach all the way down to the bottom of this valley, so probably about 100 foot deep. There was no way that was a real well. Also, the ones you see around are a lot bigger than this, so it's purely ornamental. It's right next to the big orange tree. We did think about, do we want to make a little plunge pool, but it's probably too small. I don't really want to demolish it, so I've got this giant pile of rubble from the building work so far. My plan is to dump that into the well, fill that with rubble, and using cement, maybe tiles, turn that into a little table, because it would be quite nice to sit around here, and we do have a good view over the valley from here. So that's today's project. Move that lot down that hole and fill it with cement. Also, you know, oranges fall in there, an animal could fall in there, or it's not really doing any good, so it's got to go. So starting to fill the well by hand with all the large chunks of rubble. This is all the horrible chicken wired wall from what I called the hardest wall in Portugal. So that's going to all go in there, all the big stuff first, and then I'm thinking I'll shovel in the little stuff which will fill in the gaps and make it ready for cementing. So yeah, going well, quite quickly filling this with rubble. Just get this huge piece in there now. About 45 minutes into this, going pretty well. Nearly filled up the well. Still got a giant pile of rubble though. What I'm gonna do is try and fill this to the top, then go and get the sledgehammer and try and pound it down and see if I can get more in there. I think the more it's compressed, it'll be better for cementing over once I get it filled up. So that's definitely compressing down the rubble. So I'll keep going at that, give it another pounding, and hopefully get another few layers of rubble in there before I cement over. Yes, that's going down nicely. Obviously filling all the air gaps in as I do this and making the surface smoother as well. So 10 minutes of pounding that, gone down quite a bit. I've got to be careful though, because I'm starting to split the edge, so I mean that'll be enough pounding. I'll just put a few layers of fine on there. Does smell a bit like a health spa. An orange fell off the tree as I was doing it and got squashed in, so hard work, but smells lovely. Again, already getting warm. got to be over 20 degrees already, and it's not even the end of February. Amazing country. So I've just gently tapped down the top layer, so it's pretty flat. What I'm going to do now is, I didn't want to hit it any harder because, like I say, some of the bricks are starting to go loose around the edges. I'm going to go and mix up a mixture of quite runny cement and literally shovel it all on top, let it drain in a little bit. See how that works out, but I think the first few wheelbarrow fulls will be very loose cement to drain in and fill in the holes. But yeah, it's gone pretty well. Probably just over an hour so far. The well was about 6 foot deep and maybe 3 or 4 foot across, 3 foot across. The pile is mostly gone, and I will use some of that for building the outdoor area as footings, rubble, hardcore. So yeah, going really well. I'll go now and mix the cement with the amazing cement mixer. So just setting everything up. My sand pail's getting very low now, but I've got a load down there. Keep it covered because it's an absolute magnet for the local cats. They love going in there, and when you shovel it in without realising, it floats to the top of the cement. So kept that covered as much as possible. I'll now start mixing up the first batch. So that's my cement mix. Nice and runny. I think that's going to be runny enough to start with. I probably mentioned it before, but if not, what I learned with a cement mix is you must put water in before you put the dry in, the sand or the cement. If you don't, you can end up with all of this being a dry layer underneath. So when it's spinning, you should be able to see the back of the drum. Probably really obvious to everybody, but I made a few mistakes. If you just keep adding water, it will clean it off, but then you've got to add a lot more cement and sand, and you could end up with too much in the cement barrow. So I'll just turn it on again. You'll see it drop in at the back. So it all looks pretty good. Yes, there is the odd little lump in there. We're not going to mention what that might be. A wheelbarrow full of cement. So I'd normally wash all this out now, because I'd be hours and hours using that amount of cement on the walls, but I'm expecting to need a few wheelbarrows of this, so I'm not going to bother washing it out. What I've done is 2.5 to 1 sand and lime cement, but I've added a couple of trowelfuls of tile cement I've got left over in there. I'm thinking it might just make it slightly stronger and more weatherproof, as it's going to be a tabletop. So I'm just going to shovel this on and let it run into the rubble. I'm expecting it to disappear quite quickly, or a lot of it to disappear. Even around the edge there, there's big holes in the bricks it'll probably run into. So we'll give this a go. Video. I'm just spreading this out. Seen a thing online where if you tap the cement, it brings the water up and makes it smoother. Sorry about it, I thought a lot more would disappear into the rubble, but it probably will. If I leave it, it'll probably start sinking in now. I'm going to take a break for half an hour and come back and try and put another layer on, maybe slightly firmer cement, and get it smooth all the way around. Giving it about 40 minutes or so, it'll all dry in nicely. And I've mixed up my second load of cement. It looks wet, but it is a lot firmer. And I've even brought the trowel over. This weird bird shape has appeared in the cement. I've got a feeling that might be a dog's footprint. Star might have put his nose up here. That could even be his nose mark. But I'm going to just shovel some of this on now and spread it out. Decided I definitely want to keep the outside look. Oh, it's gnarly and mossy. I'll fill in the little cracks and things, but I want to keep the look. Somebody obviously went to a lot of trouble to build this many years ago, and yes, it's very rustic, but I don't want to cover it over with cement. So the plan is to keep the look and now build up a layer and smooth this out again on top. I've started with about half of the cement. I'm just going to try just smoothing that across to get to the edge and all the way round what's going to be the tabletop. So I'll crack on with that, hopefully show you in a minute a whole lot smoothed over. So I've just repaired the cracks that appeared when I was pounding down on the rubble that went inside, and give that a little while to dry. Kind of quite smooth already. Thinking about now maybe putting a really soft layer of tile cement over the top and just let it settle so it's dead flat, but I'm not sure about that yet, so can have a think about it. But just let that dry for a bit. It hasn't really sunk in anymore. The odd little bit maybe, it's just sinking in, but it's certainly drying quickly in this sunshine. So we've had a new idea. We've got a load of, well, not loads, but quite a few white tiles in the shed, old ones, and we're going to make a crazy paving while it's still wet, put them all on, tap them in slightly, and then pour in the tile cement between everything and wipe that off. So that's what we're going to try. We've never done anything like this before, so see how it looks like at the end. If it doesn't work, we can always cover the whole thing in cement. So we're going to give it a go. The mosaic's going on quite well. Basically done proper edge parts around the outside, the bigger pieces, then the next bigger pieces, and then filled in a little bit with some smaller ones. That's probably taken only about 5 tiles, 5 of that size tile to get that far. Go and break a couple more up and finish off. The pattern we've gone for, not going to fill in with anything smaller than that. A leaf has just fell on it, but should be okay. Just going to let that sort of dry a little bit and then get the just purely tile cement and just try pouring it all over it and see if that sticks everything down in place. So probably going to give it another half an hour or so just to partly set. Then we get the tile cement on the go. The mosaic tiles are pretty much set now. Got this new tool today, a little adapter, got on a drill for mixing, so I'm going to give that a test. So that seems to do a good job. Bit messy, but I'll give that another bit more of a mix up, and hopefully this should be then ready to pour onto the mosaics and fill them all in. That's the plan. Just slopping this on here in between all the gaps. The tiles aren't really stuck down, they're moving about. So it might be a bit of repositioning. But I think the general idea is to try and get all this cement all in and then let it set a bit more, and if need be move tiles around. But just going to slap it all on and hopefully that'll fill in all the gaps and stick everything together. So this has been a bit of a disaster. None of the tiles are stuck down at all. Should have thought of that really. I maybe should have wet them. They might have stuck to the cement, or at least put tile cement on them. So what I've done is I've just slopped it all over it, rubbed it all in. The only thing holding it down is the cement in between the two now. It's really difficult to rub the trowel across because they all move about. I've done a bit of a cement roll around the edge. What I'm going to try now is just keep gently wetting it, rubbing the trowel across, hoping that some of the cement seeps underneath the tiles. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, if all else fails, I can just cement over the top of it or chip it all off. There are only a few broken tiles and there's tons in the shed, so I can do it again. Okay, they at least seem to be stuck in place now. Not moving very easily anyway. So I've got a cloth. I'm going to wipe them over now, rather than putting any more water on here, and see if they clean up. Cleaned up okay, but I think I'm going to wait for it to completely dry out, because the ones that are very dry, it comes off the tile very easily. So maybe all hope is not lost for the mosaic table. I think it might end up looking okay. So that's all cleaned up really well. Probably need another little wipe over, just giving it a little wet again, soak it all in. We added a few glass beads that were left in the house. Just stuck a few blue glass beads in there. That'll dry out again, one more wipe over, and might get a beer, put it on there and test it out. Table survived the night and all the tiles are stuck in, so a bit of a miracle. Obviously it's not a way to make a mosaic table, but the end result we're really pleased with. So again, thanks for liking, watching, subscribing, and see you on the next video.